Hi everyone, what's up? My name is Kwaku. I'm the lead youth worker here at Newham Youth for Christ. I'm going to be taking you through today's Bible scripture reading, so let's dive right in. The scripture reading we're going to be looking at today is Mark chapter 1 verses 16 to 32. There are three things that happen in this story. The first thing that happens is Jesus calls his disciples. One of the second things that happen in this bit of scripture is that Jesus goes into a synagogue and heals a demon-possessed man. One of the final things that happens in this chunk of scripture is that Jesus goes along with Simon to his mother-in-law's house and heals her from being sick. Now, these three stories all together, trying to make sense of them was a lot. But I think the main thing I pulled from looking at these three stories is one, the Gospel of Mark is all about showing that Jesus is exactly who he says he is. That Jesus is the Messiah, he's the one we can put our trust in. And in these different stories, we see Jesus living that out. Now I'm just going to pull out a few things from each of these stories. Hopefully they encourage you and hopefully you go off and read them for yourself, which is why we're doing these videos. Make sure you go and read them for yourself. But let's jump into it. First thing that we see happen is Jesus calls his disciples. The reason why I find this bit of scripture so important is because Jesus isn't just calling his disciples to come and follow him. He's opening up the way for them to have a greater destiny. Now, I mean, we know all of this in hindsight now, but you can imagine how exciting it must have been for the disciples. This Jesus guy that everyone's probably been whispering about. He's already done quite a few miracles and a few things that have happened. And he comes along to them, these seemingly ordinary people, and says, I want you to come and fish for people. I want you to follow me. Something really important about that. God calls all of us to a destiny greater than the one we're already in. He has a plan for us that's bigger than the one we can even imagine. That's something we need to hold on to. Second thing that happens in this chunk of scripture is that Jesus heals a demon-possessed man. One of the things I find really important about the scripture is Jesus is teaching and preaching in the synagogue. And as this is all happening, a demon-possessed man comes along and starts making a ruckus. Jesus tells the man to be quiet, and then he casts the demon out of him. And one of the really important things that happens in the scripture, if you read it, is that the people in the crowd that were listening to Jesus preach all respond the same way. They're like, wow, look at this guy who's teaching us. He's not like the other religious guys that have taught us before. This guy can actually live out the things he's preaching. Now, I know a lot of times it may seem like we live in situations where God may not be real. We're waiting for a miracle. We're waiting for him to show up. But how can you see God show up in your life day to day? There are things God has done in your life already to show that he is who he says he is. He is the Messiah. That's what the Gospel of Mark is all about. Third thing I want to just touch on really quickly is when Jesus goes to Simon's mother-in-law's house. Now this for me was my favorite part of the whole scripture because it wasn't just a seemingly big, amazing, big crowd miracle. It was Jesus and Simon and probably a few of the other disciples that went to his mother-in-law's house and Jesus healed her in a quiet space, in a space where it was very intimate and probably a few people. This wasn't a show-off miracle. This was a close miracle. Jesus wants to be close to all of us. He wants to get in the middle of our situations. He wants to help us. He wants to heal us. And I think that's something we all need to hold on to. So have a think about all the things I've just shared really briefly in this video. Understand that God wants to call you to a destiny greater than the one you already have. He has a plan for you that's bigger than you could ever imagine. How has Jesus already shown himself to you to be the Messiah? Or maybe you need a bigger sign. Maybe you need more miracles. That's okay. You can pray for that too. Or how do you need God to show up in the midst of your situation? Maybe you need God to be a healer for you. Maybe you need him to come close to you, like he did with Simon's mother-in-law. Well, I hope that encouraged you. I hope that helps. Do go have a read of this passage yourself. That's why we're doing these videos. If you have any questions, please drop a comment, in the comment section, or drop us a message. We'll be happy to answer any questions you have and take this further with you and go deeper. But I hope you join us for our next Bible scripture reading tomorrow. Peace out.